Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. You may be wondering why the intro to the show today was a little different, sounded a little familiar to those of you who might be familiar with video games. It was a Legend of Zelda Lost Woods Trap Remix. And you might be asking yourself, well, why are we doing this? Why are we listening to a video game intro? Well, it's because tonight we're going to be talking about NPCs. N like nitrous, P like Peterson, C like candy apple. NPC, non-player characters. It's a meme that's going around the internet right now, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me post quite a few of these. But they're an absolutely hilarious new trend of memes making fun of the left for being essentially what amounts to non-player characters, like people who don't think for themselves. And I thought, what a perfect time for us to be talking about this at Halloween time, because we're getting ready to, and we're starting to get our annual lecture from non-player characters in the world, NPCs, about cultural appropriation. And isn't it just wonderful that at the same time we also have a certain senator from Massachusetts who is probably the leader of the NPC cult in the United States, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is one of the types who, and certainly her followers are the types who get really offended on behalf of other people for us, and they lecture us every year on how we can dress. They lecture us every day on how we can act, but every year we get a lecture on what we can or can't do with Halloween. And I've got a list here of some of the costumes that you cannot wear according to some of these liberal sites. We cannot wear these. But what really triggered me was last night I was playing on Twitch. I was playing some games with some friends, and we were streaming, talking about news, and we were talking about this topic, and somebody brought up the fact that on Hulu decided to tweet with some garbage, which I'm going to read to you now. Hulu tweeted, "If you're dressing up for hashtag Huluween, haha, you're so funny, this year, this is your reminder to wear a costume that is culturally appropriate and respectful to others. Let's celebrate the holiday in a way that we can all enjoy." Now, I'm a devil's advocate type, right? I'm the type who, yes, I have my biases, but I want to look at things from the other side. And do I think it's a good idea to dress up as a KKK member on Halloween? Absolutely not. Is it a good idea if you're Prince Harry to wear the Nazi armband on Halloween and be Adolf Hitler? No, of course not, right? That's obviously a really stupid thing to do. But once you start to get into the broader wide world of what the politically correct movement wants to police us into in our behavior, I happen to find what they find offensive, I find it offensive that they're offended about this kind of stuff. And of course, I do think that what's happening right now with Senator Elizabeth Warren, where she is being she's just being broadsided right now as a response. If you don't know Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, she played on the fact that she really lied and said that, her parents, her mother faced discrimination from her father's family because of her Indian heritage, and she paraded herself around as a woman of color. Senator Elizabeth Warren is white as the driven snow, pure white, very, very white, very, very, very white senator. I say it like that just because I think that it bothers them that they're white. I think that the liberals, they have this guilt complex. And so they need to, I think that a lot of this PC comes from their own guilt, and they want to foist their guilt on the rest of us. There's a lot of people like that out there in the world. Like when they have problems, they project that problem out into the sphere, right? People who have anger issues, and liberals who are so concerned or who are so offended on behalf of other people want to police the rest of us in order to assuage their guilt. Because that's what it is. It's a victim hero complex, right? So they see blacks or women or minorities of some sort as victims, right? And they need to be saved by white liberals, which if you're looking at it, it seems kind of racist because, the whole idea is simply that, that they can't save themselves because they need these white liberals to save them, right? And that's their mindset. But I do really tire and chafe at the lectures, because when we get situations like this where, Elizabeth Warren is maybe, and remember, DNA test is not what determines your favored nation status here, your Native American heritage here, right? Because the Cherokee Nation wrote publicly, resoundingly slapped her again across the face, gave her that roundhouse kick, kind of like that one guy who kicked the pro-lifer. to the face. Elizabeth Warren is not a Cherokee, and it would you'd have to go way back, right? Like, she's not a woman of color. All right, she's not a woman of color. But it's just funny because when we were having this conversation, this national conversation about Pocahontas, aka Pocahontas, now who's culturally appropriating? Where are all the anti-cultural appropriation memes? Where are the leftists now on this one? Well, you know, Senator Warren is a socialist hero, and of course they're not going to apply those same rules or standards to her, or for Rachel Dolezal, who literally painted herself to be black, headed up a local NAACP chapter, right? Oh my God, it just cracks me up that they are such hypocrites, which is why you cannot take them seriously anymore. It's why they lose elections. It's why, you know, if there's a red wave in November here in a couple of weeks, I mean, you know, the liberals have no one else to blame but themselves. I think many of them are starting to catch on. Some of them are even walking away. A popular movement called #WalkAway. But tonight we're going to talk about non-player characters and Halloween costumes. I've got some lists here and some interesting articles. Even one of them I got from the New York Times, of all places, that I want to read to you and talk about, because I have a list of 10 culturally appropriate costumes. And then I've got a really great article here from the New York Times about what is an NPC, right? The liberals are on to us, right? What is a non-player character? So I can explain to you, right? That's why the video game music, before their video games generally have non-player characters, but it's spread out into real life, and I love it. I'm so excited. So since you probably just want to know what a non-player character is, before we get to the Halloween stuff, let's define this. I'm going to read this from the New York Times. What is NPC? The pro-Trump internet's new favorite insult. Not all of us are Trumpers, FYI. As a matter of fact, I see some of the pictures here have people with ANCAP flags in their background. So it's quite possible these are not all Trump people. This is maybe conservatives or libertarians. But Kevin Roos writes in the New York Times, last week a trolling campaign organized by right-wing internet users spilled over onto Twitter. The campaign, which was born in the fever swamps of 4chan and Reddit message boards, that's what they go to when they need to demonize random people online, 4chan, involved creating hundreds of fictional personas with gray cartoon avatars known as NPCs. These accounts posed as liberal activists and were used to spread, among other things, false information about November's midterm elections. Oh, here we go. Russia! Over the weekend, Twitter responded by suspending about 1,500 accounts associated with the NPC trolling campaign. The accounts violated Twitter's rules against intentionally misleading election-related content. Oh, well, then why don't they delete every liberal page there is on the planet? Intentionally misleading. Occupy Democrats, for FYI? According to a person familiar with the company's enforcement process, the person who would speak only anonymously was not authorized to discuss the decision. If you're confused, you're not alone. We're not confused, New York Times. The only reason why your people are confused is because the type of people who read the New York Times on the regs are non-player characters. They are NPCs. Anyways, moving on. This is a great topic for me, if you can't tell. Here we try to unpack the NPC meme, what it means, and why it's causing trouble on Twitter. What is an NPC? NPC means non-playable character, or non-player character. It's a term borrowed from the world of video games for a character that is controlled by the computer rather than a player. An NPC often advances the game's plot by saying scripted lines or assisting the playable characters in some way. A classic example of an NPC is Navi, a character in the 1998 video game The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, who acts as a navigator for Link, the game's protagonist. What does this have to do with politics? Several months ago, users on 4chan and Reddit, the online message forum, started using the term NPC to refer to liberals. These people, they said, join the anti-Trump crowd not because they are led by independent thought, very true, or conscience to oppose President Trump's policies, but because they're brainwashed sheep who have been conditioned to parrot left-wing orthodoxy in the manner of a scripted character. And it's true. As a Reddit user, Base Medical Doctor explains in a thread about the appeal of the meme, NPCs are completely dependent on their programming and can't do or think on their own. Very true, Base Medical Doctor. Is there more to the NPC meme? Sort of. There is NPC Wojak, a crudely drawn gray cartoon avatar with a pony nose and a blank face. NPC Wojak is a variation of Wojak, an old cartoon, also known as the Feels Guy, that has become kind of collective mascot for the far-right commenters online. In recent weeks, users on 4chan and Reddit have made all kinds of memes featuring NPC Wojak. Here is one. And this is a Pez dispenser with an NPC character on his head, and it's feeding Pez into it, and the Pez piece says racist on it. Orange man, bad. Diversity is our strength. Classic. Here's another, and it shows like people on CNN, and there are all these CNN people with these blank faces, and it says breaking, orange man racist, orange man bad. Yeah, exactly right. And this is a thing why. It's a long story, but the short version is that a group of young, extremely pro-Trump internet trolls has spent the past several weeks mocking anti-Trump people as whiny, easily triggered snowflakes who are primarily motivated by social acceptance rather than by logic and critical thinking. Yes, that's it. Thank you for shortening that down. Many of Mr. Trump's supporters, including as of last week Kanye West, put their support for him in the language of free-thinking rationality and paint the other side as being motivated by blind loyalty and identity politics. Mr. West said of his pre-Trump supporting days that I was programmed to think from a victimized mentality. Damn straight, Kanye. God, I'm freaking loving this. This is an amazing timeline. It's probably not the best timeline, but it's one of the better timelines that to be living in right now. I'm not going to lie. The NPC meme fits neatly into this narrative and offers Mr. Trump's online supporters an easy shorthand way to paint liberals as humorless prudes. Are they not? Are they not? They are humorless. That's what the whole Halloween hullabaloo is all about. The whole you can't wear this, you don't have fun, don't make dirty jokes, don't make a joke that might offend someone, because that's why people like Seinfeld don't appear on college campuses. That's why people like Dave Chappelle don't do in college campuses. That's why the comedians are all like Bill Burr and others are out there saying, "Hey, these young people are triggered. It's got to stop." And it's true. Let me repeat that sentence. The NPC meme fits easily in the narrative of Mr. Trump's supporters as a way to paint liberals as humorless prudes who say drumpf because the HBO host John Oliver told them to, true, who march in protests and put on pink pussy hats because they're the popular things to true, and those whose views can't withstand scrutiny. Damn, dude, this guy is calling him out by being, I mean, just by reporting this the way the New York Times has done, man, they've done us a service. And then when progressives object to a meme that portrays them as unthinking automatons, it becomes another piece of evidence. See, the left can't take a joke. They can't. It's true, right? Oh my gosh. People go, if my neighbors could hear me, I swear they're gonna think I'm crazy talking to myself like this, all alone. So what happened with Twitter? Late last week, a group of users on the Donald, Reddit's largest pro-Trump forum, decided to take the NPC meme to a wider audience. Well, thank you, the Donald. We appreciate you. You are a hive of scum and villainy for the most part, the Donald Reddit. Sorry, but many of you are very good people and very, very funny. They created dozens of Twitter accounts. I think they know that, by the way. The Donald knows that it's a wretched hive. They created dozens of Twitter accounts using fictional personalities. The NPC Wojak avatar in bios like fighting against Nazi racist drum fascist Cheeto finger. They use these accounts to follow and tweet at one another, as well as at liberals, creating the semblance of an army of resistors mindlessly repeating anti-Trump talking points. The campaign began as a joke, but a few of the accounts started posting misleading information about the midterm elections, including encouraging liberals to vote on November 7th. Election day is November 6th. So here's one tweet from NPC Brennan. Get out and vote November 7th. Blue Tsunami 2018. Take back the House and Senate. Then we will take their guns. Hashtag abolish ICE. Hashtag abolish 2A. This was a bridge too far for Twitter, whose rules prohibit giving out knowingly false voter information. Are these people actually trying to interfere in the election? Probably not. Evidence suggests they're mostly just attention-starved gamers looking to impress one another by triggering the libs with edgy memes. Probably true. But not everyone gets the joke. Of course state officials, are already worried that voters will be fooled by deliberate social media campaigns that contain incorrect voting information. Similar types of disinformation spread in 2016, which makes companies like Twitter nervous. Are these Russian bots? Of course, New York Times. Of course. Yes, we are Russian bots behind the Twitter. Probably not, they say. Okay, although some of the NPC accounts may have been automated, there's no sign Russia's involved in this. Wow, man, there's some journalism involved there, New York Times. Thank you. Mostly it appears to be a 4chan joke that spiraled into some mild voter suppression. Really? Like, it's a damn joke. Aren't you giving these trolls the attention they're seeking by writing about them in the New York Times? Yes, probably, but understanding how these things happen and how easily joke memes can escape the internet's seedy underbelly and morph into actual tools of influence is part of understanding the mechanics of modern politics. As we've learned, ignoring trolls doesn't always make them go away. I got to give the New York Times credit on that one. They did a good job. And like that is a really nice little write-up. And I think it's important. It's good journalism. So well done. I'll give them that. But now you know what an NPC is, a non-player character. And now you know why I played the Legend of Zelda theme in the beginning, because Navi the fairy from the game is a non-player character. And that's what the left is. Just like this guy said, straight up. What he reported was the truth. And that is how I see, and you know, I'm not a frequenter of the Donald forum online. I don't go to 4chan. A lot of those people hate me. They don't like me. We don't get along. But I guess as part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, as a libertarian Republican as I am, or a constitutional conservative, what have you, I'm part of it. I'm part of that meme. I've started sharing some today. I think they're hilarious. So check them out on my Instagram account. Now it's time to talk about Halloween costumes. Are you ready for some fun? All right, we're going to start with this list that this website Bustle published, which was just a terrible clickbait article just meant to play into social justice warrior leftists. But listen to this. I'm not going to read what they wrote underneath each one of them because I don't want you to be dumber, because you know, everyone in the room would now be dumber if they heard me read what the liberals wrote about not wearing these costumes. Here's the top 10 costumes not to wear this year, and the first one is a ninja, because they say movies and TVs make ninjas look super sexy, but most of what we know about ninjas is wrong. Ninjas aren't super sneaky characters that fight in dark shadows. They're real people who existed in Japan and did similar work. This as our modern day CIA. This costume is essentially a parody of the real life ninjas who existed in Japan. Well, no ninja costumes, they're out. An Egyptian queen, they say. Even if you're just taking a costume from history, it can bring up reminders of an ugly past. Yeah, how dare you? The third one, a voodoo witch doctor. Can't do that because of the Haitians. It's racist against Haitians. Number 4, I think we can get away with now these days. A Native American princess. You can't dress up as another racial group for Halloween. They say that's never acceptable. Ever. Never. Even though, like, most costumes... isn't Halloween itself an Irish holiday tradition? So technically no one can celebrate Halloween but the Irish, right? So you can't dress up with anything that has to do with the Day of the Dead. No. Halloween and Day of the Dead are not the same. It's not cool to use symbols. That's what they say to do. You do not wear any costume from El Dia de los Muertos. Another one, a geisha. Now, you cannot do that because these people do not want you to have any fun, so you cannot dress as a geisha. You can't be a senorita, obviously, unless you are an actual senorita, which, in that case, I guess it's okay. A Bollywood star, no, you can't do that one. And a gypsy. Gypsy is terrible, especially the song Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. You couldn't make that in this modern environment. But USA Today sits down and breaks down all the rules and regulations for our behavior. I don't want to read the whole thing, but they say don't dress your kids up as Moana. Don't dress up as a Native American for Halloween. Remember when, what's her name, that one actress dressed up, her and her boyfriend? It's like Clarissa Explains It All, whatever that actress's name is. But her and her boyfriend dressed up as a pilgrim and a Native American, and that was not okay. Cannot dress as a Native American. Of course, Disney had to apologize because they had a costume of Pacific Islanders comparing their dark skin tone to blackface, is what they were saying. They were apologizing because these little kids were dressing up like their god, like the god from the movie Moana. I mean, what a beautiful... what a beautiful costume. Maui was his name, the character Maui. And so whatever you do, don't let your kids dress up as Maui because some Pacific Islanders might be offended. I think it's hilarious. I think it's cool. And if the kid wants to dress up, I'm like, come on, it's not like the kid is being insensitive, right? This is a good opportunity, in my opinion, to teach people. This is a good opportunity, in my opinion, for you to teach your kids about other cultures, right? And this is what they define it as. USA Today says, we're talking about taking elements of someone else's culture without permission. Without permission? Well, I mean, so then if you get a hood pass, is it okay to do blackface, right? I don't think so, right? So if you can't get a pass from the community, how do we seek these passes? I'd like to know. Like, is there some sort of central ministry or office that we need to go to in order to determine whether or not our Halloween costume? Maybe there needs to be a board every year for the Halloween costume. Give some of these bored liberal moms, something to do other than to be offended on behalf of someone else. It's just so exhausting. If you're listening to this on your morning drive, I hope you have a cup of coffee. Good Lord, because I would want to go to sleep if I had to deal with listening to this story about these bored liberal leftists. It just drives me crazy because we used to have fun in the world, right? We used to have fun. That's what it was. And I'm not trying to be all cranky old man here. I'm 37, but when we were kids, we used to have Halloween, go have fun, and we didn't have all this guilt. It wasn't like we didn't bow down to political correctness, right? We laughed about things. We had a sense of humor. Somebody told an off-color joke, and it was fun. Nowadays, these kids, they don't know how to have fun. And we've let the white liberal leftist mom squads, think of the children, run the show. We've allowed these bored suburban housewives, these kale-eating suburban housewives, to dictate to the rest of the country how we should behave. And you know why they do it? It's because they have nothing else going on in their lives. There's not enough. They're being so coddled and taken care of and spoiled, and they live in true privilege in these gated communities where they don't interact with any of these minorities. But they're offended on behalf of them. I guarantee you, most of these white liberal moms who are angry and offended about other kids' Halloween costumes, have never met a Navajo or a Cherokee. They wouldn't know the difference between a Navajo or a Cherokee or a Pawnee. Navajo code talkers to them, what does that even mean? These people, you see, they are so protected and coddled and isolated, and they live in bubbles that is why they become NPCs, non-player characters in life. They just repeat what they see on the John Oliver show or on Stephen Colbert, or what Pete Davidson, a comedian, says on Saturday Night Live. They just repeat that. And I saw it. I was actually listening to the Joe Rogan podcast today where he was talking about actors in Hollywood and how they go insane and they go nuts. And he talks about how, like, the culture, the community of progressive Hollywood, how, you have to be progressive because you have to play the game in order to get ahead. So, like, I remember being in auditions, and he was talking about that too. He had done some auditions for shows, movies, or television, whatever, I think before he got Fear Factor and blew up. And he was talking about how it was just a progressive cult at these auditions because these actors were all sharing this, right? But this isn't just in that community, although Hollywood is obviously notedly liberal, right? Obviously, we know that Hollywood is controlled by the left. If you're not a leftist, you're not going to move forward and you're not going to advance in that career. It's like that all over the place, right? The totalitarian, authoritarian leftists who despise humor or comedy, they don't understand it. They live in these bubbles, and what they hear, they repeat, right? What they see on TV from Pete Davidson and Stephen Colbert, is what they repeat, and it is what they believe. They're incapable of independent thought. It is incredible that a black man like Kanye West, who is a major celebrity, husband to Kim Kardashian West, father of North West, and one other child, which I don't know. I don't follow that closely. I am a fan of Kanye, not a big Kim Kardashian fan, but what Kim Kardashian did was amazing because she went to the White House and she secured the release of someone who had been jailed for too long of a term. And what bizarre world we live in, where President Trump said to the black men and the others in the NFL who are taking a knee for criminal justice reform reasons, this is what we might say, or protesting the White House, really is what they were doing. President Trump said to those football players, "Give me a list of names of the people that you want me to pardon." He has that power and authority. Well, what did they say? Many of them still thumb their nose and still take a knee. So, they're non-player characters. They're not animated by an internal understanding of the way the world works based on walking a mile in another man's shoes. They can't see things from other people's point of view. And it drives them nuts when people like Kanye wander off the reservation. I'm trying to think, is there a good Elizabeth Warren Native American joke in there? Reservation joke? No, I don't know. So there is a thin line, right? I'm not really a professional comedian, so when I make jokes, it's like, oh, well, how dare you, right? I don't get to be a plausible comedian and do what people like Stephen Colbert say, which is that they can play the card of plausible deniability, that when they say something that's political, you can say, oh, well, you can't take me seriously. Well, I'm a comedian. Of course, when they get challenged on their bullshit ideas, they can say I'm a comedian. But then otherwise, when they're making political statements or satire or opinions, oh, well, then, they expect to be taken seriously on their television shows. But cultural appropriation, Halloween, Elizabeth Warren, non-player characters, Donald Trump calling Stormy Daniels a horse face. Don't you wear that horse face costume this year because you're culturally appropriating Stormy Daniels. President Trump called her a horse face. Hey, well, Donald, you're Mr. President. You're the one that slept with her, so, you call her a horse face. Maybe she looked better back then. I don't know. I would never watch something like film like that. Anyways, life is a meme. We're living in pretty much the best timeline we could have. Laugh at liberals. Laugh at non-player characters. Post the memes online. Continue the great fight in the meme war. May the Democrats lose this election mightily. May you have a Halloween party filled with costumes, of offensive costumes, and may everyone laugh and drink and point as the good ship Democrat goes down next fall. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Freedom Report podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, all these things. If you're listening to it, you probably already have. So I want to do a call to action in every single show. So what I want to explain to you very, very briefly, since you've listened this whole way, you're probably going to be the type of person who would do this. If you've never heard of the platform or the website called Twitch, Twitch is a live streaming website for people mostly who play video games, but also do podcasts and things like that as well. So Twitch is a platform that I've been getting myself into over the last few weeks. One of my good friends, John Burke, recommended it to me, and it's a really, really great way for us to hang out and share ideas as a community. We've built a pretty tight-knit little group of about 20 people who like to log in the evenings, play games, chat, share information, talk about history and politics. We play trivia and things like that. It's a lot of fun, so you should join us if you're not on Twitch already. But if you are on Twitch, or if you're going to sign up based on this, my username there is NYCProducer1776. And ordinarily what I would like to ask you to do is to support my podcast on Patreon. But there's another way that you can actually support me without paying a dime if you have an Amazon Prime account. If you're like me, I use Amazon Prime all the time. When I need to order a speaker or microphone or technical equipment or whatever it is delivered to my apartment, I have Amazon Prime and it's delivered in 2 days or less. So if you have it, or if you're thinking about getting it, on Twitch.com, they have this little system where you can connect your Amazon Prime account to Twitch. So you sign up for a free Twitch account and then you connect your Amazon Prime account. Essentially what it does is it gives you a free subscription to anyone out there. And what I'd like to ask for you to do, this call to action, is please go to Twitch.com, sign up for a free account if you haven't already. Go to twitchprime.com, and then you'll get a free subscription to any Twitch account. Mine is NYC Producer 1776, like New York City. NYC Producer 1776. You just follow me on Twitch. You'll find me when you type my name in, or just type in Austin Petersen, what have you. You'll find it. And then just you get a free subscription. So you can support me without paying a dime if you have an Amazon Prime account. You just link it to Twitch. You subscribe to me on NYC Producer 1776's channel, and it just gives me like $2 or $3, and it helps support the channel, live streams, dank memes. That way we can have more fun talking about cultural appropriation, Elizabeth Warren, horse faces, Donald Trump, and other things on this amazing Freedom Report podcast that you're listening to right now. Thank you so much for downloading, and thank you so much for being a loyal listener.